Cool. So we're like recording just halfway through a conversation. It was we keep having these conversations where it's like at the end of the conversation we're like, this is such a good convo that it would have been great if we made it into like a podcast episode or like into a video. So what we're gonna do now is just I think we're just gonna go full send and just start recording all of our like dungeon room conversations. So I'm just
Podcast dungeon.
Yeah. This is the dungeon podcast. Welcome to the dungeon, motherfuckers. So, what were we just talking about? It was fuck. What were we talking about?
I just don't remember. Fuck. Something about.
It was something important.
Books, fucking.
Yeah. About how
journaling and shit like that.
Yeah, journaling. Just like going over the old like notes from, because like I was reading. Yeah. So basically, I was reading my notes from like back in 2021, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just fucking crazy how much like actual change that I had.
Sorry guys, can you open something here shop?
For sure.
Yeah, because I don't bother to go back to the kitchen. You can maybe tear it with your bare hand.
Yeah.
Just don't
Cut
the what called.
When did you get this? This
Don't
is great.
cut the content.
Charles Dad gave it to me.
Oh, sweet.
It's
Charles
Chris-
dead?
Christmas present.
This is all staying in the video.
Oh,
All of
don't.
We'll open up the juice box. Giant knife.
Hey, might as well.
Is it legal? Okay, thank you.
Should have shot it up in there. I think we need 2 knives now.
Here you go. Alright, so this is the knife fight in the dungeon.
Okay.
Oh.
Does fold?
It does actually.
How do you fold it without removing my fingers?
It turns to a fucking.
What is that?
It's kind of retarded, but the blade's pretty sharp.
Check this, it folds into the...
The saw part's pretty useless. But
So how do I open up without hurting myself again?
it's an orange little button on the side there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So check this, and then you go, BAM! Look at this. It's like a...
I've cut myself a few times in that. Actually. Playing with it while fucking working.
So how is this supposed to be like...
I don't know. This is like a survival
Safe.
emergency knife. Oh, because it comes with a sheath.
Huh? Show me. Okay. Okay. It's pretty cool.
Not bad though, fire steel as well. I'm starting
Yeah.
a fire with that.
Can we start one now?
Okay. Right here.
Alright, back to it. But, yeah, reading the notes, like, one of the things is that you'll move through life. Like, I know for me, sometimes I go like, fuck, I feel like such a fucking loser right now, and all that. And, but if you look back at your actual notes, if you look back at your thinking, like, from a year or two ago, it really puts in perspective all, like, the little things that changed your brain that you don't even realize. Because, like, the thing is that, if you have, like, an actual change to your mindset, to your way of thinking, and, like, after the changes actually happen, and you go, like, but I've always thought like that. That's just normal.
Yeah.
That means, like, a change is actually... has actually taken... it means a change is actually, like, fully sunken in and taken place.
Yeah.
Like, on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
If there's no, like, oh, today's the day I changed. Like, if it feels like I've always been like this, then that means the change is, like, is proper there, solid.
Yeah.
And when you actually look at the journal notes, and you go, oh shit, I didn't even realize that was a big change in my thinking.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big challenge I was facing then.
Yeah.
That I moved through, and I'm like, I don't even recognize it as a problem now. That's, like, one of the values of having your journal notes there, to see your progress as you go through. So yeah, that's write your journals, kids.
One thing I learned from reading my journals is I don't know, like for some reason I always feel like I find that I'm in fewer states of happiness rather than the latter of sadness. And it always, in my brain, I'm always like, oh, it's like, why am I sad? Why do I feel like shit now? Like back, like 6 months ago, whatever, I was like, I felt so good about life, da da da. And then I read my journal, I'm like, oh wait, no, it was even worse back then. I'm like, it's always like that. I'm like, huh. So it's like, for me, I guess, it puts like, I feel like suffering feels so bad because it's like, you feel like it's so isolated in the moment, like right now.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh god, I just need to get out of it. Like it's gonna end, right? But then like I guess, like realistically, life is all about suffering, right? It's never ending suffering, in one way or another, right? Even in the good times, there is elements of suffering, and so it's like, for me, like it kind of looking back at it, it kind of helps me not feel so bad in the current moment because I know it's like, well, it happened then, and I still got through it. So it's like, I know 6 months from now, I'm going to look at my journal notes again, and I'm like, oh wait, 6 months from now, I'll probably be in a worse spot, and I look back, or it might be a little bit better. I look back and I look, oh well, I was fucking pretty shit then as well.
Yeah.
But it's like I still got through it, and it's like it weirds me out because like when I read those like journals from like 6 months ago, a year ago, I was in this state of like, fuck, am I going to get through this? This is like literally life ending. Like this is cooked, right?
Yeah.
But then I read, I'm like, oh wait, I got through it, and like, because I put myself back in that position when I read the notes, and I read it now, I'm like, oh wait, I got through it pretty right. So it makes like the present now a little bit mellower, a little bit easier.
It puts the current moment into the right context.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I guess without the whole time span of like I went through this giant nightmare, then this giant nightmare, then this giant nightmare, or this great time, this great time, this great time. Like it doesn't put like you can get really caught up in the moment of just like I'm having this problem, it's such a big problem, I can't get out of it. But like when you can reflect on it with those notes, and that's a beautiful thing is about the journal notes. It's like a snapshot of your thinking.
Yeah.
It's you can look back and go like, damn, I've actually developed all these tools now that are completely like subconscious to me that I don't even kind of realize are there, and that's what can help you remind you that you actually have these tools available to you. Like for example, when I read my notes, there was actually a lot of like little, nuggets of wisdom in there. It was funny because like two years ago, I was going through the same kind of commotion of like, oh, how do I start up a YouTube channel? And I'm like looking at my notes and like literally I was spelling out all the same things I'm thinking through right now, and I came to the conclusion of like, oh, I should just be like genuine and like just talk about whatever I want basically. But I just didn't do it because I wasn't brave enough at the time.
Yeah.
But now I was like coming at it again at the same problem, and like I was trying to figure out like, oh, how do I do it, and it's just like literally the same answer that I already had in my head like the entire time, but now I just have more tools available to me. It's like now I'm just more brave. Now I'm more just open to being more vulnerable. Now I'm just more just have more capacity to actually make videos and this and that. So it's like, sometimes we have answers to our current problems with answers that we had in the past, but we thought at the time with our previous thinking weren't the right answers, if that makes sense. It's like, only when you like look back at it from your new position can you go, oh wait, actually that was the answer.
I think that's, in a way, that's true and not. I believe we've like always known the answer. I believe what holds us back from acting on that right answer is a lot of fear, right? There's always, because like you said just a couple seconds ago, the reason why you didn't do it there because there's some fear attached to it.
Yeah.
And it's like in the back of our heads, like we know what the right answer is, but it's always, and it's so strange because the right thing is always the most difficult thing to do, right? It's
the scariest thing.
It's the scariest thing to do. It's weird, and it's like, you know that, say you're working in a shitty 9-to-5 job that you fucking hate, right? You absolutely hate it. You work in a McDonald's or you work in some bullshit job. Your boss is a cunt. You know, you hate it, right?
Yeah.
But you know, and you know in the back of your mind, like, I need to quit this and do something else that I actually enjoy.
Mhm.
But there's this
And
fear. There's this fear that holds you back in that job,
Shit, yeah.
right? And like, the right answer is always like the hardest thing to do. There's this fear because of uncertainty. You don't know if you're going to find another job. You fear of judgment. You fear that people are going to think, well, what the fuck are you doing? You just quit your job. You haven't found a new one yet. What are you doing, you bozo? Like, you're thinking, there's just so much fear associated with the correct thing to do. And I think that's why there's so many people who never actually ever are able to do what they generally want to do and do the right things in life. Well, let's say, do the things that are not under the umbrella of the lies that we're all told of. Just get a 9-to-5 job, you know, go to school, go to university, get a job, get a wife, da-da-da. The same old copy and paste kind of thing, right? That's very easy because everyone agrees with it. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? But what's the genuinely right thing to do is always resistance towards it because there's so much fear associated with it. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of like what people will think about you, right?
Because you're separating yourself from the herd.
Oh yeah, 100%. And
you're kind of exposing yourself out to being like the odd one out.
oh yeah, and like for me, like fuck, this past 3 months after moving back from Sydney, you know what? It baffled me yesterday. Fucking, it's been 4 months since I've moved back from Sydney and started doing my thing, and I'm like, holy shit. Honestly, it's been the toughest 4 months ever because it's like, and I always say it's like, oh, these have been like the fucking hardest times of my life. But like, you know, I've slowly come to realize because like I guess a little bit a while ago I was a bit more naive and I was like, okay, this is 100% the hardest thing I'm ever going to experience in my life. And then like literally 2 months later, it's like, oh, jokes is a new thing. So I guess now I've kind of realized that there's always going to be a new hardest thing I'm going to experience. But yeah, these like 4 months have been like really tough because there was just so much fear like associated with it. It's like I didn't expect it to be this hard, to be honest. You know, I've always wanted to start a business. I've always wanted just to like, you know, go and do my own thing, but I had like so much fear of like judgment associated with actually like doing what I wanted to do, even though I didn't think it'd be a problem. But just primarily deep down, going against the pack, going against the herd, it's just like the herd mentality is just so like it can be like some people are, I guess, gifted and they just don't give a fuck at all, right? But for I guess majority of people, it's like it's almost like debilitating in a way. It's very strange.
Yeah. It's like the thing is like if you're not, I guess, coming across that quote unquote the hardest thing in your life, it means that if you're not coming across that again and again and again, it means that you're just not up leveling anymore.
You're feeling complacent, really.
Yeah, it's basically either you're backtracking or you've plateaued.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you're experiencing a new, like that you've gone through like the quote unquote hardest thing you've ever experienced in your life means you've survived and surpassed that. You're stronger than that now. You've leveled up beyond that. Now you're on to the next.
Yeah.
You've grown up towards the next new challenge.
Yeah.
Which is going to be like, oh, okay, so, you know, are you ready for this next level?
Yeah.
Like that's when you go, oh fuck, you know, you start shitting your pants and you go like, oh, okay, like, and then you move on to the next level.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you never experience that again, if you never experience that, oh my god, this is, you know, I'm shitting my pants here. It's like, this is like, you know, the most difficult thing. Because like when you're experiencing these difficult things, you really have to learn to get stronger or learn to maneuver around your situation better or to, you know, be more, well, develop your skills or whatever you have to do. Like you have to do something to get through that.
Yeah.
Either hunker down or like strengthen up or whatever you need to do. But like if you're not doing that again, that means like the pressure's gone.
Yeah.
And that means you're kind of just, that's the level that you're kind of stuck at.
Yeah, and it's so...
And yeah.
It's so like enticing to just stay stagnant because it's just so comfortable. It's just so painless and pain-free. You're like... And like for me, I know it's like, yeah, like when I do it though, it feels like good, you know, for the first month. And then it gets to a point, it's like, well, fuck, it's like, it sucks. Because I feel myself going stagnant. And I feel like, in a way, like the pain of staying stagnant almost outweighs the pain of like doing something that's scary, that's right, per se.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like, it's almost like and this is kind of like where I go back to, like, for me, like, I genuinely, in a way, believe that the purpose in life, in a way, for a man is almost eternal suffering, really. It's like, for me at least, that's what I believe, I guess, in my life. That's kind of what I've come to. It's like, because the way I look at it, it's like, if I'm staying stagnant, yeah, I feel, or I feel pretty good for like a month, but then it goes to pain again. It's like I'm pain because I'm in stagnation. I'm not actually progressing. But if I want to progress, there's pain because there's so much fear associated with it. It's like, oh shit, right? And even in the good times, there's pain involved as well. It's because, like, it wouldn't be to the same scale, but there would be minute elements of pain involved in it, right?
Yeah.
As well as the fact as, if you're not experiencing pain, you're not really leveling up in life. So it's like, you to really become the best man you can be, you have to seek out pain in a way. And so I guess for me, I've come to the conclusion that, like, really, that is, in a way, that is an element, I'd say, more accurately, an element to the purpose of, like, life as a man, is to seek out pain in a way. You think about like our ancestors, right? The cavemen and shit like that. They'd have to go out on expeditions to get food. Well, that's not fucking fun.
Yeah.
They're probably going to go hungry for a couple of days. That's pain, right? They don't know if they're even going to find food. They don't know if there's a fear associated with anxiety, if they're even going to find food to feed their, their 1-year-old kid, or feed their woman, things like that. So there's always, like, I think throughout time and for the rest of the time, there'll always be a pain associated with a man's life.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's it's forever, like, human beings are designed for the challenge to, like, we are like survival machines, basically. Like, that's what we're designed and made for.
Designed to adapt.
Surviving, thriving, and, like, adapting along the way. Like, that's what got us basically to the top, was that our ability to adapt, to be adaptable to our situations. Like, we're basically the most adaptable ones, like, in the whole animal kingdom, basically. Because we can, like, we can literally transform our entire environments and all that. It's like, we're adaptable as fuck. And, like, that's the strength there, is that we'll go through the challenge of, whether it's weather or this and that, or just the hard times of, no food or whatever, but we are able to gather our, like, mental capacities, our physical capacities, our, emotional and spiritual capacities as well, like, and apply them in such a way that it just, it gives us that level up to move past it, right? So to say that it's like a life of eternal suffering, I probably wouldn't put it in that way. Like, not to be nitpicky on the wording, like,
I'd say the way,
but to say it's like it's a life of eternal progress and upgrading.
But I think, like, the way, when I say that, there's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it like a nihilistic way, or you can look at it, for me, the way I look at it is like, pain equals good, right? Because to progress, you need pain.
It's a life of continuous mountaintops to climb.
Yeah, but then, like, I break it down because, yes, you could say, it's the life is, the true purpose of life is, I guess, you can put it either or way, it really doesn't matter, but, the purpose of life is to continuously grow, but what is the subset of growing is pain, right? There's pain involved to grow. It's never easy to grow, otherwise everyone would just be the best person they could possibly be, right? So for me, the way, when I say that life is, I guess, purpose is eternal pain, it's like, I don't mean it in a nihilistic way, like, oh, it's fucking shit. I look at it as in a good way, and that's, for me personally, I don't believe anyone has to, agree with the way I think of it, but that's just kind of what I've come to the conclusion of.
Well, everyone has to agree to the way I think.
Sure.
Like, that
has to. Okay, but yeah, no, like, I think it's, for me, I look at it as in a positive way, like, pain is growth, right? And growth is positive, so that's the way I look at it. And for me, it serves like a double purpose, I guess. It's like, when I think about it, I think as well as my biggest fears, I've always saw myself becoming rich in the future, but what I always saw was myself getting rich and just relax and just be like, yeah, I'm chill. Like that was always been my goal. Just like get enough money so I can just do nothing, be chill, right? Be happy. And I always thought like I'd be happy at that point of when, yeah, I get all this money, I'm just like chilling, I'm chilling Bahamas, sipping margaritas and doing nothing, right? But then I realized like because I've had little lulls of that kind of experience of just doing nothing, being chill and like feeling comfortable. Like I have enough money, like I have a woman by my side, I'm chilling, right? I'm happy. But there's always something that pops up. It's like there's always this like thing in the back of my mind. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you fucking relaxing for, you peasant? So like for me, the way I like to think of it, because I had this like I've come to the realization that I can't fall into that trap. Like I want to just fall into that trap of just chilling out, doing nothing, but I realize that that's not going to lead to actual genuine happiness in my life. And so that's why I guess I associate the purpose of life with pain, is because I have to remind myself, it's like, well, you're going to always have to go through pain, some sort of pain, to feel happy in a way.
Yeah.
Because there's this satisfaction of conquering that pain and conquering that pain essentially. And so that's kind of why I associate that with the purpose of life, to remind myself, like in the future, like, hey, you can't just fucking chill out and just sip margaritas. It's not going to lead you to happiness.
Yeah, I guess like pain like is kind of like that, almost like the entry ticket or the admission fee to high level life.
Happiness, high level life.
Yeah, basically.
A good family, like really,
it's the admission fee.
Right? It's the cost to everything, really.
Pain, fear, whatever. Well, it is also some form of like thing that I don't want that I should lean into. Basically. Yeah.
And it's interesting. In the book, what's it called? The Way of the Superior Man. It's like David Dieter. He talks about essentially living like a man should always live on his edge, which means essentially you should always be dancing on that edge of fear and pain and joy, right? Pain and pleasure. You should never be dancing too far out on one end or the other.
Because it's because that's where the growth is between, in around that zone of like, this is like, I know I want to keep going in this direction, but it's fucking scary, but I'll just keep going, because I'm gonna get some sort of reward out of it. Otherwise, if it's just like pure just pain, it's just like it's probably unnecessary just torture at that point. Or if it's just like pure pleasure, then it's just like, well, you're probably gonna fall back and weaken or soften or whatever,
Yeah, and I think like I've also come to the realization that balance is absolutely key in life. There's no like a lot of people, we replicate, I guess, the function of a pendulum, right? It's like we start off at one end, we realize that's bad, and then we swing full force because every action has an equal opposite reaction, right? And so that we're doing one thing going throughout life and then realize, hey, that's not good. And then we swing the absolute opposite way and go to the opposite way, right? And I've done that too many times, right? And I realized that like balance is the absolute importance to life. So it's like if you're experiencing pain, you must also experience some form of pleasure to be able to stay balanced. To say, what's the word?
Sane.
Stay sane, yes, agree. But yeah, to stay in balance with yourself. Because you go this way too far, this way of pleasure. You go down the route of the degenerative route of just being average, not achieving anything really. But you go too far, and you kind of become a psycho, right?
Are you describing like karma or something here? Like, almost like a karmic system?
What do you mean?
Oh, sorry, no, never mind. of like, I got mixed up. Anyways.
No, I mean like in the sense it's even like you can literally apply that to anything, like that whole pendulum idea. It's like, yeah, you maybe one day you become you're an obese person, you realize, hey, I don't want to be obese, and you find that some people might swing the absolute opposite way and end up anorexic because of, say, body dysmorphia, right? You find like
they have that yo-yo effect where they like lose a bunch of weight and then get it back all again and then lose a bunch of weight.
But that's that pendulum effect again. It's like have a bunch of weight, lose a bunch of weight.
Because there's that pain of consistency.
Exactly, and so it's balance is the utmost important thing in life to actually live a true and genuinely happy life, right? There is almost just like the saying, there is no pleasure without pain. There is no that's a form of balance, right? You can't have one without the other. So the two, I'd say, like the most important things in life is to realize, like, yeah, balance is extremely important. you know, in anything and everything you do. You have to have like internal compass to realize like when you're doing too much or too little of something, right?
I think there's also times when balance needs to be put aside as well. Like, there are times when you really just need to like push through a lot of pain and just to like get to the other side of
Well,
something, like, if you know what I mean.
Well, I agree, but then
like
there's still balance in that, in the sense like you most likely before were experiencing a lot of pleasure, and then so to offset that, you got to experience a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So there's always balance. There's never.
I guess what's coming up to my mind is like, you know, when you get like those really super wealthy guys, like the, what do you call it, like the Jeff Bezos, or the who's the guy with the fucking cars and the rockets?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah. Basically, those guys, they're like, balance. Fuck balance. There's no balance. Like, but you know, they're just like full throttle. But I guess they get the that pleasure in life of like being at the top of the game, you know, of being at a position of power, of having as much money as they are, you know. Like,
yeah.
But like that's the price they have to pay for getting all that in return, you know.
I'd say in a way. Balance, I'd say, is relative. It's obviously that's like impossible, right, in terms of math. But I'd say it's relative in the sense it's like for each person, right? Say Elon Musk, he loves his work, right?
Well, yeah, it can be relative, like person to person. Like,
yeah.
What scale of balance?
Exactly. Yeah.
Are you dealing balance between two huge things, or like balance between small things?
Exactly. Like, say if somebody is doing work, right? It's tough, right? It's definitely hard. There's pain associated with it, but they say if they love that work, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Say they love that work, absolutely. And then say they spend like 90% of their time working, but then they spend 10% of the time actually relaxing, right? Most people would say that's a bit crazy, you're going to burn yourself out, but that person could find that's very balanced, because for them, that work is not as draining. For them, it's quite a balanced lifestyle, because that work is not as draining as, say, working at McDonald's, where they feel like, you know, 50% of the time they're working at, you know, McDonald's, then they need to spend another 50% of the time relaxing, just to kind of balance out that internal, I guess, mechanism of, you know, pain and pleasure, right? But someone who really loves their job, yeah, there's pain associated with it, but they like their job enough that they only have to relax 10% of the time. So
yeah, because like for some like people, like, for example, I've been reading the book, like I've just started reading parts of it. It's called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and he's like some rich, what do you call it? He's one of those angel investors in Silicon Valley. You know what an angel investor is? Basically, like, if I'm a startup, some guy will come along with a bunch of money and say like, oh, you've got a cool project, I want to invest into a whole bunch. Basically, yes. One of those guys, actually, yes. In Shark Tank, they're all angel investors, and they're all like, you're pitching to an angel investor. That's basically it. And the angel investor comes and saves your business, or makes it grow. So he is an angel investor, like he has a whole bunch of money. Basically, like the way he describes his work is that he's gotten to a point where, like, he doesn't, like, none of it feels like work. It's all play. It's all play. And I guess that's where the way he finds balance is, like, he's gone through all the shit of, like, you know, working, doing all the shit that he had to do to get to the point where he could, like, start delegating all the tasks that he didn't want to do, to the point where he only does interesting things that make money for him. Like, even, like, he says he gets people coming up to him with, like, you know, multi-million-dollar ideas, going like, hey, you know, like, let's just work together, da-da-da-da-da. And he's just like, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun.
Yeah.
Basically. So, like, and he works, like, you know, what people can perceive as, like, insane hours of, like, you know, basically all day. But, like, you can get to a level and into a way where you can structure your work such that it is, like, so, like, balanced and refined to yourself that it's only like you consider only as play, basically.
Yeah.
But of course, you can only really do that, I guess, within the context of like being your own boss, like where you choose for yourself. Like, I want this work, I don't want this work.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
not really possible in a 9 to 5. I don't know, unless you absolutely love.
well, it depends.
the
If you're an astronaut or some shit, they fucking love the work. You know, to them it's probably
I guess
the
yeah.
same situation. I'd say like yeah, like I said, it's relative for every single person, right? So, say for the guy who spends well, he's awake for like 15 hours, he spends 14 of the hours he's awake working, and 1 hour of the time he's awake resting. Obviously, the volume of like if you imagine a scale, the volume of time is different, but the weights are balanced, right?
Yeah.
And so it changes. Like one person might need more rest, one person might need less, but the balance is what's key. You got to make sure both sides of the scale are equal, right? Whether the volume is less or more on each side or the exact equal doesn't matter as long as it's balanced. And that's where people find that's where you find genuine happiness, right? Is in balancing your actual life, your life force, if I could express that, because people work a normal 9 to 5, they hate their life, they hate working, right? You find so many people, you find like the average person, right? They incorporate an aspect of this as well, like they work a 9 to 5 and on the weekends they're out clubbing, right? For them, I guess that's their balance. That clubbing is their time to rejuvenate their life force, whether it's a useful or optimal way to spend their time on the weekends doing that. It's up to the person. It's relative, like we've said.
Yeah.
It's up to them, but they do find balance in that, right?
Yeah.
So rejuvenating kind of that life force, whether one thing drains you, you need to find another thing that rejuvenates that life force. It's essential. So it's I just got my point, but essentially, yeah.
Don't basically find what works for you, essentially. Like basically, like, so long as that you're living the life of your choosing, that you're living the life of like so long as that you're conscious of like what recharges you and what depletes you, and that you're consciously choosing how much of each you're doing, and how much like that you're actually making time for everything appropriately. Like that's I guess it comes down like, are you consciously choosing the path of your life?
Yeah.
Like that's the important thing, because like when people get really fucked up is when they don't have any choice in their life, or like they refuse to choose for their lives. Like they have the capacity to choose, but then they go like, oh, I'm too scared, I'm too lazy, I'm too this, I'm too that, and then they just don't, and then they live like a shit life.
Yeah.
Like fucking I did, like for a long time, and life is getting better and better now that I'm exercising more personal choice and responsibility for my life by balancing out all of these, these are the fears and these are the this and that and everything. But I still consciously choose to lean into that, go into that growth zone, and then just come out on the other side even better with a higher level life. So it's about being conscious of how you want to live your life. And sometimes you might actually need to consciously choose to lean into some pain at some time.
Yeah. Always.
But that's where you get the growth from.
Yeah. I think like if you generally want to live a fulfilling life, you have to seek out pain. You have to explicitly throw yourself into the fire to kind of live like a life that you're proud of. And I think so many men nowadays are so depressed and so down bad is because there's so much fear of essentially throwing yourself into that fire, and then you're left with essentially there's always every inaction leaves essentially a negative emotion, right? So if you out of fear you don't do X, Y, or Z, you then result with emotions of X, Y, Z, whether it's self-loathing, depression, or just general kind of like, oh, what the fuck, why didn't I do that? You always feel negative almost to yourself, and so inaction as well.
Consequence.
Yeah, there's always, and it's like like science, math. It's like every action has equal opposite reaction. So it's like, if you don't do this, well, there's going to be the opposite reaction of you're going to feel like shit about yourself, right? And that's a very negative loop, feedback loop, because essentially it's like you don't do one thing, then you feel bad about it, and then it makes you less motivated to do it again or do something else that you know you should do, and that just spirals and spirals and spirals down, right? And that's something like a lot of men nowadays they face, is that inaction is such a problem. Now you ask, like, okay, well, how do we actually move towards action, right? It's a very tough thing, because you have to have, I guess, the mental fortitude to be able to actually pull yourself out of that negative feedback loop, to realize, like, hey, I do need to enact some sort of action, even though I don't feel like it. And I think being conscious about that fact that doing a action that I know I need to do or want to do will lead to the process becoming easier. Because like with so much inaction, say like we can all relate to, it's like an assignment build-up, right? Say you have a due date and you have this assignment, you just watch the days tick by, you haven't even started
up a YouTube channel.
Or start up a YouTube channel, or fucking, calling up your fucking agents, your real estate agents for your business, or doing whatever, really. You see like the days tick by and it's coming close to that due date, and you're like, fuck, and you build up more and more anxiety, right?
Yeah.
There's so much resistance to actually starting. That's the hardest thing. But once you actually do it, the process does, and now it may not be from the very first thing, you might not get that, that motivation, but as you slowly tick away, like, you do 1, 2, 3, it starts to compound, and it's that compounding effect, that momentum essentially starts to grow as you start to chip away at it, and so to break out of that negative feedback loop of
spiral upwards.
To break out of that inaction that is causing that negative emotion, you have to do some sort of action, right? And that's why you hear that quote of like, oh, just make your bed in the morning, right?
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, it sounds so fucking stupid, but it literally can change your trajectory completely. Doing just the bed really can literally change to okay, I did my bed, well, that feels pretty good. Tomorrow I'm gonna fucking do my bed, and then I don't know, clean the rest of my room, and then it kind of leads to that, and that's a very fucking rinse and repeat kind of thing that a lot of people say, do your whole bed and shit like that. But whatever it is, like, find the smallest, most easiest, least resistance thing you can do that is you meant to do or want to do, and that will eventually compound and lead to you attacking the bigger problems,
Because like sometimes, for the bigger problems, like sometimes you'll just have to approach it with a bit of humility sometimes, and just say like, hey, I'm just not ready for this, because I haven't gotten all the other prior things, just I haven't conquered all the prior things before that. Like sometimes a thing just might be too big, and because like, and I've experienced this like quite a number of times before, like where I would be just banging my head against the wall again and again and again and again, because like I'm trying to shoot for something that's a little bit, that is a bit too much for my ability. So I'm just like stuck banging my head against the wall and not making any progress at all, because I'm trying to avoid the fear or the pain of having to like climb back down from the little mountaintop that I've already climbed. I can't get to the next mountaintop if I don't climb back down the mountain I climbed and then climb again.
Yeah.
Like sometimes in doing that, going back to go forward, like that's there's like a big fear and a big pain associated to that. So sometimes like it can be like a big mental masturbation where somebody's like, and fucking I know I've done it. It was like, yeah, I'm fucking working hard, just fucking bang, 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 but it's still an avoidance of the actual work, which is going back.
Yeah.
Backtracking, doing some of the more like fundamental work, and then building yourself up like properly to climb up the mountain.
Yeah.
Right?
And I just did that recently, honestly. Like, I was like recently, like a couple weeks ago, like I just spent 2 weeks just straight learning everything, just like studying. It was funny, is actually I watched one short from Andrew Tate, and he was like there's 3 main reasons why people never become rich. It's
Hold on, we got to assume the position.
Illuminati confirmed. No, he said there's three main reasons that people don't become rich, essentially. And I don't know. Usually, like, there's not there isn't fucking many things that I'm like, wow, that's fucking knowledge right there. That's fucking all. It changed. Like, there's nothing that changed my perspective. I don't really usually find. It's usually a combination of all ideas put together. But with this one, I was like, oh yeah, three main like reasons that people don't become rich. It's either stupidity, which most people are not stupid enough unless you're literally like Down syndrome. But yeah, it's either stupidity, laziness, or what's the word? Ego or cockiness, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I was like, I'm not fucking stupid. I'm pretty smart. Like, I can figure this shit out, right? Lazy, I agree. I am pretty lazy sometimes, but not all the time. Like, I can like, but I put my head down, ass up, like I can get some work done. But I was like, nah, definitely cocky. And it's like,
I've done it too.
yeah. It's like I was like, I didn't have
I have
like
a good example of it too. Yeah.
it's like humility to step back and be like, hey, look, I don't know enough. It's like, fuck, I need to take a step back down from that mountain and fucking, do some more learning, do some other prep work before I can start climbing that mountain again. It's like trying to fucking hike Mount Everest in your fucking underwear. You're literally gonna die, G. So like, climb back down that mountain, go get some gear, and fucking go back up and to get some training, right? So for me, like, that helped a lot because I was like, because I suffer from that. Like, that's a big thing for me. It's having that humility to kind of climb back down the mountain and go do what I need to do before, like, get all the prep work ready before I start climbing that mountain, get all the training I need. And so I was like, okay, fuck. So I put everything on pause, literally study for 2 weeks straight just to be able to kind of get all the knowledge I need and then to be able to climb that mountain again. Now I feel a lot more confident to be able to actually climb that mountain, right? Like, I remember when I was in fucking Sydney, before I left for Sydney, I just quit for my job from working in fundraising. I was like, peace out, Josh, suck my dick, I'm leaving. And I was like, told everyone, I was like, oh yeah, peace out, motherfuckers, I'm moving to Sydney.
Yeah.
Peace out, I'm gonna live sick, gonna be awesome. See you, motherfuckers. Moved to Sydney, 3 months in, I was like working back out there again. And I sucked so much ass because I was like working at Amex, American Express, doing sales for them. I was like, fuck, I hate this so much. And I was looking at my options and I'm like, shit, I cannot stand another day of this. And I was like, yeah, I could apply for some other jobs, but it might, because I already quit at this point. I was like, well, no, I was so ready to quit. I was thinking about it, I was like, I could go apply for some jobs that might take like a month at the end of the job, might take 2 weeks, whatever it is. I might not even like that job. Blah 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 blah. I was like, fuck, fucking hold my fucking tail between my legs. I didn't go work directly for Josh, but I worked for like Tyler, which is one of his employees. But he'd know that I'm working back there. I was like, fuck it, full send. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I went back, worked for him, and worked out in the end. I was like, whatever, got me through Sydney. So, but yeah, it's having that humility.
Yeah, it's funny how like life will just give you that humility check like at some point.
Yeah.
Like as well for me, when I was doing my hypnosis business for a bit, like there was a point where I was selling for like 12 weeks packages for like $600 or something like that, and then like I knew that was a very low selling point. Like basically I was getting paid like for the amount of actual hours that I was doing like less than $20 an hour or something like that, like because I was doing many hour sessions, whatever. And like as much good as it did for the clients, it was like not, it was also like taking from me as well. It was kind of like, oh fuck, well, I can't sort out my needs as well, so it kind of felt like a burden on my shoulders. Not that like any of the people were a burden. I'm so fucking grateful that they are like that they were there and they were part of my journey, and like that they got what they got out of it. But it's just like that, how do I describe it except for like woo-woo terms, like that energetic exchange, right?
Yeah.
Of like I'm giving so much, but there's like very, very little in return. Like it's very skewed, right? And so then what I had in my head was like, all right, well, I'm going to force myself to charge it like $2,000 or something like that. $2,000 for 12 weeks, which is a significant step up, right? $2,000. And like where the reality check came in for me was just getting slapped down and just not being able to sell whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like I was able to sell at 600 because that's where, my, I guess, belief in myself at the time was at. But that new mountaintop of like $2,000, I guess I just didn't believe it myself, that I was there, or, didn't have the skills or capacity. But I knew the whole entire time is that I had to kind of like baby step my way up to it, so I get used to selling at like 600, then at maybe 800, then slowly stepping it up. But I was like, no, my fucking ego wants to be up on that mountaintop. I've conquered this one, but now I want to be at that one.
Yeah.
Like without the work, right? And so I kept banging my head against the wall, and nothing happened. And so I had to, obviously, never made any sales, and clients that wanted to rebuy into the program, they just weren't able to. And so instead of making, I don't know, like another $800 or something like that, I made zero. So like that's when I had to basically like go, oh, okay, well, I don't have money now, whatever. I have to go get a 9 to 5 and just to keep tracking along, whatever. And that was like the ego check from reality, So, but it was like, but the point is like I had that ego there of like, I'm here on this mountaintop. I've already conquered this one, but I just want to jump straight to that one without going through the fear of going through the pain of like, oh man, I have to like baby step towards it, so I'm confident I can confidently climb that second mountain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that there again of just trying to avoid that I guess that pain or whatever it is that of going the full proper route.
Yeah. It's like trying to take the shortcut.
Trying to take the shortcuts, yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's how it can backfire on you, because trying to take the shortcuts, it can sometimes like kill the motivation, or it can kill your actual progress, and then sometimes it just goes like the energy that you originally had for it, if not directed in the proper way, can just fizzle out because you're trying to like move too quickly. It's like a tree trying to grow just up and up and up without growing down with roots to support itself. It'll just fall over.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like having that awareness, self-awareness, to know where you're at in terms of your knowledge, your skill, your life experience to be able to conquer certain challenges. You have to have that awareness to know where you're at. It's kind of reminds me of this one time when I was a bit younger. I think it was like 18, 17. It's about 17, yeah. Oh no, possibly 18. I started going on solo hikes. I wanted to start going out there, kind of experiencing a new challenge. And I'd had gone on, I think, like a couple hikes at this point. I went on a couple hikes by myself. What's it called? Yeah, I went on a couple hikes by myself. And then the third one, I was like feeling pretty confident. I'm like, I just did 2 hikes by myself. Like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I got the shit in the bag, right? And so I was like, okay, let's go on like I don't know, it was like a 4-hour hike or 5-hour. The other ones I did were like 1 hour, 2.5 hours maybe. I was like, fuck it, let's go big boys. Let's go 4-hour hike, right? All the way down south near Burley Heads-ish, near Rabina. I was like, yep, let's go. I checked the weather. Like, I planned to go on like a Saturday or whatever. I checked the weather like on Friday for the forecast for the Saturday. And I was like, oh, it's going to be raining, da-da-da. I checked the trail notes and everything. They said like, oh, you probably shouldn't go if it's been raining in the past couple of days. It's been raining for like a fucking week before that. And I was like, fuck, it should be right. I know enough. I'm pretty solid. Anyways, I go and it was like, the weather was alright. It was pretty cloudy.
Yeah.
At the start of the hike, I start going, and what happens at the trail, I picked it because it's cool, because it had like a bunch of creek crossings. I like creeks, I don't know, they're cool to me. It was like probably like 9 creek crossings in total over the whole track.
Yeah.
they're all completely flooded. They're like proper flowing, like up to your thighs, right?
Oh jeez.
And I was like, I get to the first creek, I'm like, huh, this is a bit hectic. Well, there was an element, there's like this thing, I thought in the back of my head was like, you should probably turn around, like, probably a bit hectic, right? You should probably go back home. And I was like, my ego got to me, I was like, nah, I'll be sweet. So I press along, literally fucking crossing the first creek. I had like a 2-liter bottle of like plastic bottle of water in my backpack, so I had to like cross up, like usually if it's not flooded you just go straight, but I had to go up the like this little the creek bed where there's not even like trail there. I had to go up there and jump over these fucking rocks, these like wet ass rocks and everything like that.
Oh.
I did that. This is the very first creek crossing, by the way. There was like 8 more to go. I crossed the very first creek, and then like as I'm crossing, like I fucking stumbled a little bit. My water bottle falls in my bag. Fucking flows down the street. I'm like, oh, sick. So I only got like probably like 1.5 liters left of water now. I'm like, oh, sick. Anyways, I crossed it. I'm like, gee. And then again, the reasoning in the back of my head is like, yeah, you should probably get back. You know, you still can. And my ego was like, nah, keep going. And so I keep going. Fucking across the other creeks, whatever. There was some points I had to like, take off my boots, like fucking hike up my goddamn pants. You know, actually walk through that shit. Anyways, so I get like across. I think I like cut my foot at one point. It wasn't too bad. I just bandaged it up. Anyways, like get towards like the halfway through the hike, and it just starts pouring rain down. Brought a rain jacket and everything, but it started pouring. But what's it called? I had my phone with me, right? Because the trail wasn't like it was like it was a moderate trail, but I saw in the trail notes that it was like there's some areas where there's like not the best like markings, right? There was not really markings on the trail.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I brought like a map with me, right? Like a paper map in like a waterproof case and a compass. And I had my phone with me. I had like a shitty ass Samsung back then. And the battery died up easily, so I brought like also like a extra charger, portable charger with me, blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it started pouring down, rain, pissed, and put my rain jacket on and start going, blah blah. My phone starts dying, right? It's getting down, and like I was using the phone as GPS to actually like see the trail where I had to go.
Yeah.
My phone starts dying. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. Anyways, it's like at like 10%. So then I'm like, okay, sweet, whatever. I go to fucking plug it in to the portable charger.
Yeah.
It has like water in charging port, can't charge.
Oh,
And I was like, son of a bitch. I did not think of this. Then I was like, holy fuck. And then it kind of started sinking. I'm like, oh, this is not good. And I still had like half the fucking trail to go. And so I was like, I kind of memorized like a good portion of like the turns I had to make to go down the right trail. And I was like, all right, easy. Anyway, so I get to like the third quarter of the trail. I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, I don't remember where to go now from this point. And so I bust out the paper trail. I luckily like marked out highlighter like where I had to go and stuff like that. And so then I literally got to a point where like I had to like, I was like kind of guessing where I was going. I'm like, I think this is the right point. I got up to like this hill and I was like literally checking my compass, getting like my bearings, like triangulating where I was like on the fucking map to see if I was in the right spot. And so I used like landmarks, like the fucking hills. I used like the hills, right, to triangulate where I was in the map, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of the right direction. But it was wigging me out because I said to Mum, I was like, all right, I'll be 4 hours. And then at that point, it was already like been 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I still had probably like another hour to fucking go. And I'm like, I need to get back to the car so I could charge my phone, get reception, call Mum so she doesn't start calling the fucking police and all this shit. And I was like, oh my god.
Because you know she would.
Yeah, 100%. And
She totally
she was
would.
so close. I got back home too, she's so close to doing it.
Oh my
But
god.
yeah, it was cooked. I did a bit of like, I went a bit off trail because I was like, where the fuck am I going, blah blah. But yeah, I ended up getting back alright. But moral of the story is like, bloody hell, don't let your ego get the best of you because you know it ended up pretty bad in those situations, especially.
Yeah.
But it worked out in the end. But now I'm wiser now not to do dumb stuff like that. But yeah, it can be expensive lessons. I say could have been way worse, very definitely. And my map started to actually get a little bit wet as well at one point. I was like,
It's like, come on.
everything that could go wrong was almost going wrong. But yeah.
But there's like, there too as well, there's like, what did you get out of a moment, like out of that whole experience though? Like, did you get anything out of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd say like trust in myself because I was pretty happy with like how I handled it. Like I'd say like I handled it the best I could, and to be honest, better than I thought I might have. I stayed pretty calm and like use the knowledge I did have to try and like obviously be able to navigate my way back to where I had to go and stuff like that. I was pretty proud of using the whole fucking compass and triangulating where I was on the map. Literally bust out the pencil and everything. Because I got to this hill, because this is like rainforest pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's one point where I got to this hill that was pretty freaking clear. I was like, wow, this is lucky. And I was able to kind of deduce where I was. But yeah, I'd say it's like trust myself, but also like when I was wisdom to like check my ego as well at certain points, especially in those type of senses. When it comes to, I guess, my actual physical safety,
Listen to your gut.
Yeah, listen to your gut. Listen to that voice in the back of your head from like, because most of the time it's pretty accurate, to be honest.
Yeah, like, yeah. That's the discernment part of, I guess, being a man as well. Like, there's times when you need to go through challenging situations like that, and sometimes, like, just an overwhelming ego will just like push you right through it. Like having that ability to think, yeah, I'm totally fucking bulletproof, nothing will hurt me, and you just like walk right through it. Like sometimes that is actually necessary. I mean, like they do these little what do you call it, exercises, and I've seen it, like somebody do it in person, where it's like you take like a wooden arrow with a metal tip, like an iron metal tip at the end, and what you do is that you like place it like on your throat, and you're up against the wall, and you have to basically snap the arrow in two. It's like a proper arrow that you shoot. You have to snap it in two using the pressure from your throat. But the thing is, the catch is, like, if you just walk slowly into it, you're gonna hurt yourself, right? And it's gonna hurt a lot, and you're gonna like not be able to do it. But the trick is, if you just like full on like faith, just like walk right into it, just go like fuck it, and just walk right into it, it snaps, no problem. Which is the funny thing. So like, there's points in life where you need to be able to exercise like that discernment.
Yeah.
Where sometimes like
yeah.
like you just need to show that kind of bravery and just go through a thing, and sometimes it's just like not worth it, and it's just kind of stupid. You're kind of putting a lot of things at risk, and you're probably just getting your ego in the way or something like that. So it's that's where like the other balance is like discerning, like, all right, well, are you going through pain, haphazardly? Are you going through pain like unnecessarily? Like, are you going through like a lot of risk unnecessarily? Like, for example, yes, you can make a lot of money at the casino, but is it like a risk that you need to take or anything like that, right? That's the other side of, I guess, discernment, because there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, like, and that's where that gut sense will kick in of like, hey, this is not the best idea, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, if that is coming from, I guess there's multiple little voices at play here. So like, there's going to be that little bitch voice that's going to be like, oh no, you shouldn't be doing this, oh no, hold yourself back from doing this is really scary, versus the voice that's going like, hey, like, this is your physical safety at risk here. You should probably stop that. There's like those two gut senses that you're going to get, like that bitch voice and that, like, the discernment voice.
Yeah.
You should learn to be able to figure out which one is which.
Yeah.
And I guess like I guess the way that I would describe it is like, the bitch voice would be the one that's like trying to shrink away from life. That's like trying to kind of like lower your energy, if that makes sense. Whereas that voice of reason and discernment, that's like trying to keep your ego in check, that's more of a, I guess it like, from the times I'm trying to recall from it, it's more of like a stable kind of feeling.
Stabilization.
Yeah, it's yeah, like the voice of reason and discernment, like that's trying to keep your ego in check. That's like a stable thing versus the bitch voice, which is like a negative kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like trying to pull you back, where it's like the discerning one is like trying to pull you back to neutral, where
like
you're
a-
like trying to go like, oh, I'm just really fucking.
It's a balancing mechanism.
Yeah, it's a balancing mechanism, but it's important to like. Sometimes like people get those voices mixed up of like, this perfectly fine voice of reason that's telling me not to drive after I've gone a full night of drinking. Like that's probably not the bitch voice, right? And same as like, when I'm trying to, I don't know, make a sale to this person or whatever, and I'm feeling all scared or whatever, like that bitch voice is not the voice of reason either.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get that mixed up.
Yeah.
So it's important to see like the bitch voice, is it pulling you down, or is it trying to bring you back to like a calm neutral? I guess that's how I would kind of like define too.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like, is it trying to protect you, or is it trying to? Well, I mean, like the bitch voice is also trying to protect you in a way too, but it's a defensive mechanism of a
It's
of your past, of like your prior self.
The bitch voice is actually, I'd say, you'd have two main factors. You have the ego and the bitch voice, right? I don't know what you could call the bitch voice in a scientific term, but
we're calling it the bitch voice.
With the ego and the bitch voice, I'd say the ego and the bitch voice, they work in tandem. The bitch voice is trying to protect your ego, right? The bitch voice doesn't want you to try and put yourself through pain and fail.
Trying to protect you, yeah.
Yeah, trying to. Well, I wouldn't say protect you. It's trying to protect the ego, because you're reading. You're reading a lot of books, right? They talk about the ego, say in the Power of Now, right? It speaks about the ego. What's it called? The bitch voice stops. Say from like trying to close a $2,000 client, right? Or like a $6,000 per month client. Your bitch voice is like, no, don't do it, because it's scared that you're going to fail and it's going to affect your ego, right? But the discernment is in a vacuum from both, right? It doesn't care about either or.
But that little voice of reason that's at the back of your head, it's going like, hey, you should be doing this,
Yeah.
Like, and that's the same voice that's going to be coming back at you, like, when you don't do the thing, and it's going like, you should have done that thing.
Yeah, definitely the voice, like the voice of reason, right? That is the one that we really should listen to, but we too often listen to the ego and the bitch voice, right?
Yeah.
Because the voice of reason, it's in a vacuum from both of those voices. It has no effect or correlation to them, right? It only cares about what's genuinely right for you. That's what you could say is your gut feeling, right? But the ego and the bitch voice, they have ulterior motives, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, like the bitch voice doesn't want your ego to be damaged. Your ego doesn't want to listen to the bitch voice or whatever it may be, right? But the middle discerning voice is the most important one, because that generally knows what's right and wrong most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to find a way to actually be aware of that voice of reason, actually listen to that one, just like I didn't do when I went on that hike. But then again, it's like I didn't go back, because I was like I didn't go back because there was this fear that my ego be would be bruised, because like, well, I just drove all this way to go for this hike, and now I'm going back. What the hell? People are gonna think I'm retarded, right? But the voice of reason was like, come on, let's think about your actual life safety here. That's more important, buddy. So yeah, it's
you don't want to be like the fucking water bottle that just went.
Yeah, literally. So yeah, it's discerning between almost blocking out those other two negative voices, let's say, that don't really do you much good. Listen to the actual voice of reason, which is your gut feeling, your intuition. That's the most important voice to really listen to.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's almost like the that bitch voice. It's pulling, like, it's kind of pulling you back down. Like it gives that yucky feeling of just like, I just want to shrink down, and that egoic voice, or whatever you want to call it, like that bravado kind of voice, it's giving you that false sensation of like puffing up, but it's still like all just hot air. It's like there's no actual support for it. So I'd
say the bitch voice's main role is really to protect the ego. Like that's what it is. And you find in all these like spiritual books that it talks about the death of the ego.
Yeah.
Right.
Of like I'm on a higher mountaintop than I think I really am,
Mm.
or you know, I deserve to be on a bigger mountaintop than I'm actually on, or whatever.
Or like, I want to make a bunch of money so I can show people, look at me, I'm so fancy. Like, I
Yeah.
can prove everyone wrong and whatnot.
Or I can continue pretending that I'm on a higher mountaintop, so long as I don't do anything that disproves that.
Yeah, and then
Which is like all the challenges that come up for us.
and that bitch voice stops you from doing anything that could disprove your ego. And so its main role is to protect the ego, essentially. And so that's
to avoid you from feeling the pain of reality.
yeah, that's really it. And so, like, in pursuing pain, like, you essentially are killing both the ego and the bitch voice in a way. That's the, you know, if we want to tie back to the original point, like, that's why pain is so important. And I say it's the purpose to life. It's because really it is, I'd say, the sure-to way to kind of succeed in a way. It's like, because to do the right thing, we find it can be really difficult. You don't know what to do. Like, you know, this is the right thing to do. This, but really, like, if you can deduce it, you use a bit of your intuition and realize, like, okay, this painful thing is the right thing to do. Okay, like, if you can deduce which painful thing seems more to like true to your core, well, then that 9 times out of 10 will be the right thing to do. You know, and so like seeking out that correct pain is the best thing to do, because it kills the ego, kills the bitch voice. And you're leveling up as well.
Yeah, it's like what's coming up for me right now is like is there was like some saying or something like that, you know, it's something along the lines of like when you're leveling up in life, like your problems don't disappear, you just get better quality problems.
Yeah.
You know, so be the kind of person that can continuously like choose the quote unquote problems that they have, like the challenges that you're facing, so that it's that constructive challenges, you know, that they constructively push you forward to that next mountaintop again and again and again and again. And like, you know, because as men, as humans, like that's what really drives us forward. That's what gives us that kind of purpose in life, is that growth. You know, so like, you know, I would say that like the purpose of life is for growth. You know, and growth obviously has pain associated to it, but it's like, you know, is always looking to aim upwards and move forwards, going and going and going. And yeah, like you'll like pain is you know, it's a part of the process, but it's for a greater good of growing yourself to that next level. And when you're at that stronger next level, yeah, you might come across challenges that will challenge you at that level, but be grateful that you can face them at that level. Because before, like, if you look at yourself, you know, a couple, you know, what do you call it, iterations before where you are now, you would be completely wiped out by the problem that you're currently facing. So, you know, even if you're in a shit position right now, like it's good to be grateful for like the level of problems that you're dealing with now, because they're much greater than what you could have dealt with before.
Yeah.
And I guess that ties back all the way to the start of like having those journal notes, like keeping those journal notes. Like the value of journals is like not like, yes, you get the value of like dumping out your brain right now, but you also get the double value later on when you review those notes and see, holy shit, I've actually come this far. And there's a great deal of like deep satisfaction in going, wow, my brain was there, but now I'm here. Like, I've actually come a long distance.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really, for me, yeah, I was just thinking like why I resonate with the, I guess, idea of like, you know, purpose to life is pain. I think for me, I don't know if like anyone else would be able to relate with this, but for me, it's like I've spent most of my life trying to escape pain. Like I've just been so fixated on escaping it. Going from like, I'm like, okay, like it's always been the goal of like, okay, just do this, finish this thing so that you can experience like happiness afterwards, like at the light at the end of the rainbow kind of thing, or at the end of the storm. And so it's like, yeah, it's always been like I've always been fixated so much on just escaping pain and experiencing happiness. And so for me, it's weird because I guess experiencing like it continuously, it's like, you know, I experience the pleasure, right, the happiness, and then I'm like, oh wait, there's pain again. It's interesting because I think I realized like there is no, like, going back to balance as well. It's like there is no like pleasure without pain, and so I guess I resonate with that philosophy. I guess the purpose of life is pain is because it allows me to kind of be comfortable in that pain, if that makes sense, to embrace it. And I think, I don't know, for me at least, I believe it gives me like an edge in a way that, like, if, because so many people try to escape it, like they don't like to be in it. And so if I guess for me, I change the way I look at it. It's like, if I can embrace it and actually enjoy being in the pain, well that'd be more advantageous, really. If I can enjoy it and seek it out, well then that just allowed me to level up 20 times more, really. And so yeah, I guess that's why I say that. Like, I have that philosophy, is just to remind myself to kind of like enjoy it, accept it, and like seek it out in a way.
And yeah, just fully like lean into it, embrace it.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where the growth and level up happens. Yeah.
What's the time?
1:11:11.
But yeah,
Well, I think that was pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty good.
And that was the first time that we've had a freaking amazing conversation, podcast quality conversation, and we actually recorded it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yo. Wait, hold on again. There.
There.
Hold on, what? There.
No.
Hold on.
There we go.
Yeah. We've actually finally did it.
Okay.
First podcast episode done
Podcast dungeon.
in the podcast dungeon. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
We actually,
The philosophical dungeon.
yeah, the philosophical dungeon. Like, you and I, like, we actually like worked to redo this room, to change it into a podcasting room, and we haven't done until now. So
Literally.
this is a big achievement.
Oh, it's fulfilling its purpose now.
Yes, and like we wanted to have like a table and like professional lighting and setup and everything, and we were just like, no, fuck it, we're doing it live, we're doing it raw. We're here, motherfuckers. We got a camera set up on a fucking book and on the bed. We don't give a shit.
One day.
It's the content, it's the heart and the soul of it that matters. You know?
That's it.
We're going through the pain of the what do you call it? The potential judgment of like, oh, we're not good enough. Oh, I'm not perfect. Oh no, what would people think of us? Fuck that noise. We're making the podcast right here, right now. So yeah. Any last words?
I don't know, fuck. Seek out pain down there, level up. Escape the Matrix, fucking hell. Illuminati confirmed.
Stay juicy, motherfuckers.
That's it.